Hi everyone, and welcome to the book Refuge, and welcome to another recommendations video. This is a theme trope. This one isn't even really a trope. This is basically an excuse to talk about some 5-star reads I've had in the last few months that are super sexy, super steamy, and I want to recommend them to you. A few of them have been in other recommendation videos that were like trope based, but for this one I just wanted to scoop together I think I have like 7 of some super steamy, super sexy reads that I want to share with you that maybe will just get you a little bit tingly, a little bit excited, that you will have fun with. So I just named this generically like steamy reads recommendations. I've done 2 other videos of these before, but they were both like very different from each other, so that's funny. But I want to go through, I actually have, most of these are all self-published paperbacks, and I either read them on Kindle Unlimited or I purchased them, and then I purchased the hardcover of it, the paperback of it. So first I want to start with, and I really mean this entire series, which, spoiler alert, I'm gonna make a whole video devoted to the first 15 books of this series because I put off reading it for so long and I'm ashamed of myself, and I don't want you to make the same mistake. So this is a paranormal romance series. It is, granted I haven't read a ton of these kind of series, but I can't see how anything's better than that. But that is the Immortals After Dark series. So I'm holding up No Rest for the Wicked because I don't have all of my books yet. I have ordered them all, but I currently only have like 7 out of the 17 that there are. But this is a paranormal romance series that has all the things. So the magical world, the paranormal world, is called the lore. So everyone who's a part of it is called Lorians, which is kind of cool. And there are werewolves, vampires, there is witches, there are Valkyries, there are nymphs and fae, there's everything. This is the second book in this series. The first 5 books of the series, 6 books, all take place at the same time. So you really can kind of enter this series at any place within those 5. You should end up like reading them all. But after listening to the Fated Mates podcast, which is really what got me onto this series, as well as now having read them all myself, I definitely agree, because there is like 5 couples that all like find themselves at the same time. So we are dealing with, as you can guess by the name of the podcast, we're dealing with Fated Mates, which is usually the way that paranormal works, is that generally the males of the species, they have a mate and they will sense that mate in some way. It's different for each of them. My favorite way, not always my favorite, but they're all 5. I gave them all 5 stars, by the way. Tune in for that video where I'll go into more details if you're interested in this, but I'll just speak on this one. Particularly has a non-human blood drinking vampire named, I think he's Sebastian, who, when vampires find their mate, they get what's called blooded. And so that is, they feel like the world is shifting, their heart starts beating again, and they get an erection for the first time. Because vampires, they cannot get an erection until they've been blooded, which is so good. Like, I love stories like that, where a man literally cannot have sex with anyone but his perfect person. But that doesn't mean his perfect person wants him, because the female in this, her name is Katerin, and she is a Valkyrie, and Valkyries kill vampires. And she is sent to kill Sebastian because the town that he like lives by, some people called and like paid her to come and kill him. Because Valkyries take bounties and they get like paid to take care of business and stuff like that. And she realizes that she bloods him because she knows what's happening to him, even though, because reasons, Sebastian, like, he knows what's happening to him, but he also doesn't, because he's never seen it happen to anyone else. And Katerin's just like, shit, I don't want to be this guy's mate. And so she runs away. And then it starts an amazing romance. So this entire series, like I said, I'm planning to film that video next. I need to just gather my thoughts because there's a lot of books to talk about. It's gonna be a really long video, but I just wanted to gush about them. And instead of doing like constant like side-by-side videos for this, I figured I would just put them all into one and it would be amazing. So I definitely suggest this series. If you need more convincing, wait for my video about that and I will convince you. Next, I have 3 Simple Rules by Nikki Sloane. This is the first in the Blindfold Club series, which is kind of broken up into 3 trilogies because the first half is when the club is owned by this one guy named Joseph, and the second half is about when someone else takes over it. But I'll show you the cover here. This is the first one in the series. This is about, let me remember her name. It's Logan and Evelyn. Yep. Okay. And so the setup for this is that Evelyn owes some people, she owes some money to pay off some mistake that she made at work. And so her friend Peyton works at the Blindfold Club, which is a high-class sex club. Her friend Peyton is an escort, and the way that this club works is that there's like a bidding thing that goes on, but the woman who is being sold, well, it isn't just women, but in this case it is. The woman who's doing it is blindfolded at the time, and it's only if it's okay with both her and the patron if the blindfold will get taken off. So she signs up to do this. She needs to make $10,000 and she owes like 20% to the club, so she needs to basically be sold for $12,000. And so one of the people there is her like seller basically at the moment. Yeah, I know, it's a thing, but they're her negotiator. So she's standing there blindfolded and being sold, and then she gets down to business with the person after he buys her for the night, and it's her boss, Logan. So they've been having this kind of like sexy chemistry, and it's actually like it's actually something that she did wrong on a project with him. That is why she has to like do this to save her job. And then he like does this to kind of prove the chemistry that they have. And it's Nikki Sloane, so it's questionable, but because there's such an undeniable like chemistry between them. Also, all these books have BDSM elements in it, and it's so hot. This series is so hot. So because there's like 3 simple rules, 3 little mistakes, 3 hard lessons. Like there's 6 of them in the series, and it's so good. I had to buy these ones on Kindle, and then I'm slowly collecting these. Like this is an old library copy that I found on Better World Books, but I love Nikki Sloane. I want to own all of Nikki Sloane's books. It's a thing. So then I actually have another Cressley Cole book. I should have done this one before, but I didn't look at my stack. And that is her Game Maker series, which this is The Professional by Cressley Cole. And it's really kind of cool because there's 3 books in this series. There's The Professional, The Master, and The Player. And they are about these 3 brothers, the Sebastian brothers. And this one's the most mob related. The other 2 aren't as mob related, but they're these 3 like filthy rich men. And in this one, we're dealing with Natalie, who she is looking for her birth parents. And it turns out that her birth father is the head of the mafia in Russia. And he didn't want to reveal himself to her because it would put her in danger, but his enemies have figured out who she is now. So they're going to be coming after her. So her father sends Alexander, the Siberian is his like kill mafia name, to be her bodyguard. And when things escalate, he basically kidnaps her from her home and brings her back to Russia to meet her father. And this is so good. It's really interesting too because her father is a good person, like he's a great guy, and so she basically has been made a mob princess, and her like Sebastian thinks he's like not good enough for her, but she's kind of like, you don't get to decide that by yourself, and it's so amazing. But these three brothers in this series, they really like parallel some of her IAD characters, but like put them in a non-paranormal situation. So there's this group of brothers in IAD that like parallel these brothers, and so their like issues and problems that they have are a lot alike. And I see that so well now after reading IID, because I actually read, these are the first Kresley Cole books that I ever read, and I have her historicals that I can't wait to read, and I want more IID books to come out, and I can't believe I caught up in 2 weeks. I hate myself sometimes. So then I gotta talk about Sea of Ruin, which I know you've seen in a lot of videos, but why haven't you read it yet? Why haven't you read it yet? This is by Pam Godwin, who writes super steamy books. I haven't read all of them because some of hers are very dark, and I'm just not mentally prepared to go there for some of them. But this one is about Bennett Sharp, who she is a pirate, and she has a pirate husband named Priest, and they are having some marital problems. So she is kind of punishing him for some of the things that he's done to her and some things that have happened, and you know, marital issues. And then Bennett gets kidnapped by Ashley. I can't remember what his first name is, but he's Lieutenant or Captain Ashby or something, who he is a pirate hunter. And so though Bennett doesn't want anything to do with her husband right now, she really like needs him to kind of save her from this. And there is lots of chemistry between her and her husband, and there's lots of chemistry between her and Ashley, and it is dark and delicious and so good. Like, I am in love with this book, and I think Pam, this just proves to me she can write anything. There's also BDSM elements in this one, and also, like I said, like there's captive dynamics as well, but it doesn't skeeve me out because Bennett, though she is physically weaker than Ashley and Priest, she is mentally very strong because of things she's went through as a child. There are trigger warnings for this book, including assault, gore, and more assault. Like, there's a lot of that going on, as well as like some dubcon for sure. But I love this book. I love that book. Then I have another dubcon book for you that I've also talked about a lot, and that is Twisted Pride by Cora Riley. So this one, I'm a bit of a cheat because you really shouldn't just hop into this book, and if you want to know more about this entire series, you can check out my Mafia recommendations video where I go over the trope of Mafia, and then I suggest some books to you, mostly all Cora Riley because I freaking love her. But this one is about Ramo and wow, her name just went out of my head. Serafina. Woo! Had to think for a second. This one is about Ramo and Serafina. And Serafina gets kidnapped by Ramo. He is the leader of the Las Vegas Camorra, which is the Mafia, and she is from the Chicago. They're the family or they're the outfit. I can't remember. There's like names for all the different whatever. And she is supposed to be married, and he kidnaps her on her wedding day. Granted, the white dress. And he is planning to get her to say yes to having sex with him so that he can blackmail her family and basically like ruin her in her family's eyes. So super dark, super dark. But Serafina, again, is so strong, and she knows the only way that she will keep this man's respect, like the only way that she will like be able to survive mentally, is if she does not back down for him, even when situations are kind of scary, and even when Ramo is acting really dumb. There are just, the clash between them is so epic. I just love it. But that's the thing, like a lot of times when you want a lot of steam, you gotta have a lot of darkness, because it's that hate energy, that like hate to love energy, that just makes it so good. And I mean, pretty much every book I've showed you so far is also a hate to love scenario so far, because I just feel like those get the steamiest when there's as much like hate behind it as there is. So So good. Then I have another historical recommendation, because Sea of Ruin is also historical, and that's The Duke I Tempted by Scarlett Peckham. So this book is a, how do I describe it? This is kind of a marriage of convenience, but it's also inconvenient in both, like both ways. There's this woman named Poppy who she owns her own like nursery, like planting, like tree nursery, plants, flowers, stuff like that. And she's really proud of everything she's saved and how she has put this together. And then she gets caught in a compromising position with the Duke of Westmead. And he has not wanted to get remarried, but he does need an heir. And she does not want to get married because everything she owns will then belong to her husband if she does that. But they end up coming to a compromise. But the Duke has some sexual secrets. So we learn in the first chapter that he actually likes to be a submissive sometimes, because he feels like he's carrying the weight of everything on his shoulders, this dukedom that he doesn't want, the like taking care of his like sister, and like all these things that he just doesn't want the pressure of, and submitting to someone really helps him with that. And we get to see Poppy, who definitely has some dominatrix tendencies, and I loved it. This set me on, like, I was just craving some female, like some femdom scene, like in a book. And this one did it in a story that was just so, like, their chemistry, and like there's miscommunication and issues, but when it's talking about like this kind of like sexual desire, I completely understand why a man wouldn't just be upfront and straight about that, because that's not something he's like going to be able to do. Like, he's not going to be able to do that. And it was just really, really cool to see how it comes about. It was really beautiful. I loved it. And then the last one I want to talk about, this one is super fun. And this is actually great because I ended up getting a copy of this in the Reveal book box that I did, which was a late night Instagram purchase, which was fun, where they send you signed self-published paperbacks, which was really exciting. And that is my brother's Billionaire best friend, and I believe this is the first in the series. Like, there's other ones in this Billionaire series, but this is by Max Monroe. I really like Max Monroe's reads, and this one is about, the girl's name is Maybe, which I'm not a huge fan of, like, naming conventions like that. Like, made me roll my eyes a little bit, but whatevs. And then her brother's best friend Milo owns a company where I don't think she wants to she doesn't want to get a job with him, but she's going to like do some like training with him so that she can get an interview with like a company like his. I think I explained that the right way. But they end up like texting back and forth about this, and when she's drunk, she sends him a text that says, "Deflower me, please." And thoughts that were already coming into his head because his best friend's little sister is starting to look super cute, now just come full front into his head because she has asked him to have sex with her. And it just starts this, like, it's so steamy, and just like, I don't really love like text message romances, but because that's the way where they can like pretend that it's not each other, it's really sexy. Like, this isn't a case of like text messaging like secretly. That's something I really don't like. And that's why like I don't really like epistolatory romances too much, because I don't like when people are hiding their identity for a whole book. Whereas this time they're fully aware of who each other is, but they can hide behind that they're only sending the text to each other. And I love that. Like, I love that so much. So yeah, so there we go. So there is my recommendations for some steamy reads for you to check out. I just obviously this is mainly what I read is stuff like this. I feel like this is a good variety of what I've been reading this year so far. And yeah, and stay tuned for that IAD video. I'm super intimidated to make it because I've only read through the series this one time, but I'm just brimming with like love for it right now. And so I hope you'll check it out. I'm gonna try to keep it mostly non-spoiler and just tell you like about the different creatures in the lore, and then like a quick synopsis of like each book and like what creatures are in each book and like how I feel about it because I want to. But anyway, enough talking about that. Thank you so much for watching this video, and you can watch some more of them right now.